ain't nobody hotter. Thank you for tuning in with your girl Tasha. We handle business, we ain't about to gossip. Here to uplift ya, now it's time to boss up. Hey, hey, tune in, nah, you can't miss. Making sure that you get your daily wake up list. We yelling bam, good vibes, good energy. Bam, being authentically me. Shout out Little Mo and Trinity, that's mini me. Gotta keep it in the family. Hey, your girl Tasha, YGT, time to get it hype. Hey, this is what you need. Hey, go ahead, turn it up, this my jam. Being authentically me like bam. With your girl Tasha, hey, let's dance. Being authentically me like bam. Yeah, now it's time to get it. Time to get it. Wake up, time to handle business. Yeah, yeah, hey, now it's time to get it. Time to get it. Wake up, time to handle business. Yeah, we about to get it live with your girl Tasha. Hey, like bam. Let's go.
Hey, 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 hey. Almost left that mute on, guys. It is your girl Tasha, known to the world as the Tasha Carpenter, but everybody calls me your girl Tasha because when you hang with me, what? It is like you are hanging with your girl. And you know what my favorite word is? It is BAM, because I'm always being authentically me. And guys, y'all know it's another election edition. We here in Maryland, we're about to go into early voting. So, we're bringing on the last of the candidates for the circuit court judge seats in Prince George's County, okay? So let me get these wonderful ladies up on here. Well, it's not the last one. We're missing one, but it's okay. But everybody's coming on here. Let's see who we have here. Going to pop them up real quick. 1, 2, and 3. There we go. Hello, ladies. Hello, 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 hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Now, you know what I'm going to see? See, this usually... it's like we've had people coming on. Let me take off my banner real quick because I want your names. There we go. I want your names to show up too. This is so exciting, guys, because these candidates are all part of the sitting bench. So they've been doing the job, and I'm going to allow each one of them to introduce themselves. And I want you guys to tell them just a little bit about you as a person. I don't want to get into any of the professional stuff, you're not the judge stuff, but as a person, maybe where you grew up from, family, things of that nature, sports, hobbies, just give the audience a little bit something about yourself. And I'm going to start from my right. I'm going to go with Judge Watanja Curry.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Judge Watanja Curry, and I was appointed to the bench in Prince George's County in 2018. I've been serving as a judge at the circuit court since December 2018. Before having the extreme honor and privilege of serving on the bench, I was a resident of Prince George's County for many, many, many years. I'm raising a family here. I went to high school in Charles County. I went to Lackey. After high school, I went to UMBC on a track scholarship. After law school, I went to University of Baltimore, where I met my husband, now of 22 years. We're raising 3 children in the county, and I'm a proud resident of Prince George's County, and I'm very happy to be here with you today.
I think it's me. Hi, folks. I'm Judge Kathy Surratt, and I'm so happy to be here with Tasha and all of you. So I have been sitting as a circuit court judge for 1 term, and I'm running for my 2nd term. I have lived in the county for over 35 years. I live here with my husband is Dennis Surratt. Some of you may know him. He's a longtime labor activist. I have 3 sons who I raised here in Prince George's County. Also all in labor. One is with SEIU, one is with NEA, and the other is a cinematographer in IATSE. I have been deeply, deeply committed to justice and equity throughout my entire career, and to the people and community of Prince George's County. And I am just thrilled to have this opportunity to speak with all of you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Judge Sharon Kelsey, and I've been serving on the bench since January 2019. And before that, I actually was born in Washington, D.C. I was raised there until, maybe about 6th grade when I moved out into the suburbs in Maryland. I lived in Prince George's County for a while, right on the line at Montgomery County. I went to high school at Montgomery Blair High School, class of 79. After that, I got a degree at Montgomery College in Human Resources and Labor Relations. After that, I graduated from University of Maryland University College with a Bachelor of Science in Business. And then I went on to law school at Georgetown University, class of 92. After law school, the week after I graduated, I got married to my now husband, Michael Kelsey. And so we've been married almost 30 years. We have 2 grown girls, 22 and 24. They're both graduates of Howard University. And I just have to share because I'm so excited that my youngest daughter is in grad school, but my oldest daughter just purchased a condo yesterday. So we're very proud of her for that on her own with no co-signer. So we're very happy and proud about that. And I myself enjoy cooking and suspense movies and thriller books.
All right, ladies. Yes, I should have told you, Kathy. I'm gonna put you up on the screen. That means your turn to talk. But I like all that natural stuff. And you know what? I was looking at buying a condo as an investment property. Almost pulled the trigger just about a couple of weeks ago. But girl, when I saw how those condo fees go up, I said, oh no, I'm gonna have to invest in a house or something. I'm gonna tell you. Woo, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so look, ladies, well, first of all, as I said, you each are considered as sitting judges. So we got some people. Oh, remember, guys, share and invite for me. Always share and invite. Hey, Dr. Carla Cornegay, welcome. Always a pleasure to have you here. With you being considered as sitting judges, some people may not understand what that actually means. Can you just go in and share exactly what it means to be a sitting judge on the bench?
I can start this one. A sitting judge is a judge who is actually currently serving as a judge in the Circuit Court for Prince George's County. For the 3 of us, we've been through the vetting process, which led us to be appointed, and then we were sworn in, and now we are actually serving as Circuit Court judges. So when it means to be sitting, that we're actually serving in the capacity as a judge currently.
Okay, so now my understanding is that actually 2 of you guys are going up to be elected, and then 1 of you is, of course, going to be up for re-election. So, Kathy, you have served a whole 15-year term already.
That's
and
correct.
You decided to come back and do it all over again. Now,
That's
my question here is that also, along with 1 more person, you guys are running as a slate together. How did that happen, or what made the determination for you guys to hook up together to run as a slate instead of running as individuals?
So I can answer. So first of all, it's cost efficient. For the 5 of us to run as a slate. We fundraise together. And then, of course, when we have to purchase marketing materials, we only have to purchase, 1 set. I know you see that we have some individual signs. These are signs that we drive around on our cars, but primarily we have handouts that have all of our information on it. We have 1 web page that has all of our information on it. We have 1 Facebook page that has all of our information on it, in addition to some of our separate things. But and that's the first reason. And of course, the second reason is because we believe in each other. I mean, we're all very committed as judges. We all share a lot of the same emotions and feelings about serving the community. And so we just feel it's only appropriate to go out and meet the community together as a cohesive group.
All right, now, look, Dr. Carla, she popped in there and she said, I love this because she said, you guys are all beautiful and educated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now I see other people on here peeping. Y'all better go ahead and say hello and let me know you here. I see y'all over there peeping already. Okay, so Tanya, you brought up vetting and when you were talking, you mentioned the vetting process, right?
Right.
Many people place a lot of weight on it, and each one of you can actually chime in on this, okay? Many people put a lot of weight on the vetting process. Now, what I want to know from you as individuals, do you believe it's an essential part of the process? And if so, why is it essential? Hello, Chicago. Thank you for tuning in, Terrence. He says, good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning. Tasha, do you want me to start that? I can start with the beginning of the process, and I'll leave some for the other ladies because it's an extensive process, and I don't want to go droning on and on.
Okay.
But initially, the process begins with we have to submit a multi-page application. I think it's 35 questions, basically asking anything about our background, any issues that we've had in the past, any disciplinary actions, any problems that we've had, all of the good things that we've done in the community, our education, background, training, experience, any publications that we've had, and we submit all of that to the Judicial Nominating Commission in writing. They get to review cases that we've had in the past. If we had any writings that we've submitted for publication, they can review those and read them so they can understand what our views are on different things and positions in the law. After that application is submitted, then we go to another section of the process where that application is actually forwarded around to several different bar associations throughout the community. And that's important because these bar associations represent individual aspects of our community. The J. Franklin Bourne Bar Association, the Women's Bar Association, the Monumental City Bar Association, the LGBTQ Bar Association, the Hispanic Bar. And this is not an exhaustive list, it's extensive. And our applications go to all these bar associations, they get to review them, and then they get to interview us to determine whether or not they believe that we have the qualifications, the experience, the temperament, and the necessary things that would make a good judge. And they submit their qualifications and their recommendations to the Judicial Nominating Commission, who then begins a second process. And I'll hand it off to someone else so they can continue with the vetting process.
So with it, because I know with the four of you guys that this hour is going to go pretty quick. And traditionally, you know, I always tell people that, hey, I'm at home, so it's not like I'm in a studio where a show usually comes in after me. Because as y'all can see from my intro, I actually do go in the studio at WBGR Atlanta, but I haven't been in it since the pandemic. Today, unfortunately, Rocky has a veterinarian appointment, so that means I got to be running out the door, so I can only afford to go over a little bit later. So with the vetting process, my what I want to know is, do you feel that it's actually essential? I know we've had people on before that have explained it from the different areas. I will hope that a lot of the viewers who tune in on a regular basis understand it to a degree, although you did a very more detailed job than anyone else has ever done on the show. But do you feel that it's essential? Because there has been some people who have, if they don't get through, okay, you could go through the vetting process, but you don't get selected by the governor to move on to be appointed in some cases. You know, is that truly essential, or how important do you really feel that it is? So somebody else could jump in and answer that question for me.
So I feel that it is essential because I feel that it just really digs into the background of the individual candidate. When we go before those bar associations, as she mentioned, all those different groups, that's a wide cross section of attorneys who are interviewing us. And it may be a panel of a half a dozen attorneys, but they're representing the whole bar association. So that whole bar association has input, and they look back at. So, you know, I've practiced for 25 years, or most of us have practiced for about 25 years. So they go back and they have input into what interactions have they had with us? How did we work with them when we were attorneys on cross sides? What was our demeanor like? What was our work ethic like? What were our ethics like in general? So all that information then gets farmed up to the Judicial Nominating Committee, which is not just doesn't consist of just attorneys, but it also consists of members of the community as well. And what a lot of people may not know is during that process, they reach out to any and everybody can write in about us, good or bad, to be considered. And frankly, I was on the Judicial Nominating Committee for 8 years. And so we actually dig deep into the background of candidates, and not just the referrals that they give us or the references that they give us, but we then go and find other cases and other attorneys and other judges that they've been before to find out really, you know, about these people. I think the other thing that's very important is the transparency. When Judge Watonia said they look into our background, I mean, down to any traffic ticket or that may be over I think it's $50 or $75. They look into our tax records. They look into our criminal background. So they actually go and get all of this information. They look to see if we had any disciplinarian actions. So all of that information is out there and available to the public, so that they can just be absolutely sure that who they're putting on the bench is someone who they believe has the not only just the knowledge, skill, and experience, but the background. And another thing, what organizations have you been a part of? So they want to make sure that you haven't been a part of organizations that exclude people as well. So those are some of the reasons that I feel are essential. And as Judge Curry said, I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to let Judge Surratt throw in some input as well.
Now, hold on a moment. I appreciate that. That was real good there. But hold on, ladies. Do y'all want me to be saying Judge Bartolomeo, Judge Kathy, and Judge Sharon? Because everybody to come on my show, I just call them by the first name. Now, y'all being all tell me, what do I need to be saying all that? Okay, I mean, out of respect and stuff, I just be like, okay, what Tanya, Kathy, and Sharon, and Tasha.
Well, that's just what we're used to, but we want you to be your girl, Tasha. So
okay,
you do what makes you comfortable.
Okay, Judge Tasha. So okay, Kathy, sharing some. I'm loving the different ideas to hear that, because people need to hear different people's viewpoints. So share your part.
Yeah. So I would ditto what both Waitanja and Sharon said, but I would kind of digging a little deeper. The fact that we go to the women's bar, the LGBTQ bar, the Hispanic bar, the African American bars, the Asian American bars. These bars are created and they run because of the constituencies that they represent. So it's not just the lawyers, which is what people say, well, you were approved by the lawyers. It's important that we're approved by the lawyers because, I mean, if you were going for surgery, you'd want to go to a doctor who was approved by other doctors. You wouldn't want to go to somebody who didn't have experience, right? So the lawyer part is important, but the community and the constituencies as a whole are important. And what the whole reason for that process is to make sure that the community as a whole can have an opportunity to look at us, no matter what constituency you are, that if there are special concerns in your constituencies, that you can bring them in and you can question us about it and you can look at our background about it, because it's absolutely crucial that our histories and our experience is representative of the entire community. And I can come and say to you anything I want to say to you, right? I could tell you that I am the best at this and I've done this, and I may or may not have done it. But if I have to submit myself to all these groups who are looking really deeply into the truth of what I'm telling you, if I submit myself and say I'm an open book, you're able to look at every aspect of what I've done. I want you to look at every aspect and not just take my word for it. That's why we did it. That's why it's important. That's not to say that somebody can't be good, but the truth is there's a reason that there's this vetting process, and Prince George's County deserves to have judges who care about, have demonstrated their commitment to the entire community.
Okay, all right. Thank you for digging into that a little bit more. Now we're gonna say good morning to Paula DeBose real quick. Hi, hello, beautiful. You have a whole big message from Dr. Carla. She says, "Let me know how I can help these ladies with their campaign. As a 2014 former Charles County Board of Education candidate, I know about the stress of campaigning. Though I couldn't campaign like I wanted to, given my father was ill, I made it to the general election on my first try. Therefore, again, let me know what help you need. Tasha has my phone number and contact information, and she's also shared her email address, and you ladies could pull that up if you need somebody to step in and support you." And
thank you very much.
So much.
Thank you very much, and I hope your father's okay.
Girl, don't be laughing at me saying Judge Latasha Carla. Shut up. Anyway. Okay, so what are other requirements besides vetting? What are some of the other requirements that an individual needs to have to run for judge?
Well, in order, go ahead. You want me to go?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the qualifications for a judge, if somebody runs, Tasha, they have to be a U.S. and Maryland citizen. They have to be registered to vote in state elections. They have to be a resident of the state for at least 5 years, and they have to be at least 30. And they have to be a member of the Maryland Bar. And it says generally that the candidate or the person who is running has to be most distinguished for integrity, wisdom, and sound legal knowledge. But nobody at the Board of Elections asked us anything about integrity, knowledge, or sound, any of that when we went to put in our application to run for a judge. So I'm not sure how that is verified when somebody puts their name on the ballot. Oh, and you also have to pay $50. So that's what you need to do, basically, too.
$50. Okay. All right. Cool there. Okay. Caller says my father passed, but I thank you so much.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. So that's interesting. Now, with your backgrounds, guys, each of you coming and sitting on the board, how did your background contribute or help you transition into the job? Did you find it valuable, or did you find any challenges when you got into the actual seat to start serving based off of your background outside the courtroom? Not outside the courtroom, but outside the judge seat.
Okay, so I think our backgrounds give us the foundation to serve, and identifies those people who are able to learn how to be a judge. I mean, obviously, when you come on the bench, there is still much to learn. It's been almost 2 years now, and I have learned so much since I have sat on the bench. But I think what I brought with me was the fact that in addition to my knowledge and experience, because I practiced such a wide range of law before I came on the bench. I practiced in all areas: civil, family, criminal, and estates. And I practiced in Maryland. I practiced in the District of Columbia, in the estates court, in the bankruptcy court. I was appointed many times by the courts to represent veterans in foreclosure actions, or elderly people who had dementia, or children with who are the victims of child abuse and neglect. So all of that experience and knowledge I brought with me. But in addition to that, I think the fact that I'm such a people person, I've been widely connected to the community as far as community service is concerned. A lot of people probably recognize me from the pro bono work that I've done with Mount Nebo and Reed Temple and First Baptist Church of Glenarden, or Highland Park, or Kettering Baptist. And I've done that for many, many years with respect to expungement clinics or pro bono law days. And doing that community work and representing so many people, then that gave me the opportunity to connect with them and to know what their concerns are. And oftentimes I wasn't just their attorney, I was their confidant and I was their friend. And so I could hear what their concerns are. So now that I'm on this side of the bench, I know, in addition to the law, what the root causes and concerns are of people who are before me, and I can relate to that. In addition to my brethren, as an attorney and a solo practitioner, I know what it's like to practice in the courts, and I know what those challenges are. So I wasn't just insulated before I got on the bench. I was a part of.
All right. Now, Miss Ella McClendon said a wealth of experience, and Dr. Carla says to you, Sharon, wow, very impressive. I'm a 100% disabled veteran. In fact, she was running in the pageant to raise money for homeless veterans. And she says, thank you for your service. Okay, so who wants to go next, ladies, to share?
Because Judge Surratt's, all of her credentials and everything that she talks about goes so long, and she's so distinguished. I never like to follow her. She's such a hard act to follow. So all right. I'm going to jump in here before she tells you about all the wonderful things that she's done during her service of the community. Before going on the bench, Tasha, I was a trial lawyer for 20 years, and I had the opportunity, as being barred in Maryland and DC, to have the privilege and the pleasure of representing over 1,800 clients, both in the District of Columbia and in the state of Maryland. And I actually practiced in 17 out of the 24 jurisdictions here in Maryland. So I have tried scores of trials to verdict in front of juries and more than 300 trials in front of judges throughout the state and federal courts in Maryland and DC. And this extensive trial experience has given me a unique perspective of the process, and it has strengthened my commitment to equal access and equal protection for everybody under the law. I know how important it is for a judge to be fair and impartial, and I know what it feels like to leave a courtroom having represented a client not really feeling like I had been heard or my client has been heard, not really feeling like I had the opportunity to really convey everything that I felt was necessary, and basically not feeling like I've been treated fairly or with respect, or with the respect that some of the other trial counsel may have received. And so that knowledge has really turned into a positive for me and for people coming into my courtroom, because I think I really impart in my courtroom respect and integrity and respect for the process and respect for those who come in front of me. And I hope that everyone who leaves the courtroom after they appear in front of me leaves feeling that they have been heard. And I also feel like everybody who has an opportunity to come in my courtroom should have an opportunity to feel like they have achieved justice. Whether or not they agree with my decision or not, I hope that they feel like justice has been served.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And a seasoned Miss Judge Kathy.
Thank you, Tasha. So as folks said, I'm running for my second term. I've been on the bench for a term. And from the beginning of my career, from law school all the way through till today, as I said, my commitment has been really for equity and justice for all. I sit on the Committee for Equal Justice that was created in response to George Floyd to make sure that we get rid of all aspects of discrimination in the judiciary. But I've been doing this work long before the current movement and George Floyd. I chose on that committee to sit in a subcommittee on sentencing because we all know that we need to get rid of both the discriminatory aspects of sentencing and to decarcerate. And I've been working on that historically as well. I sit on the Standing Committee for Pro Bono Legal Services, and I also sit on the Access to Justice Commission. And I sit on those to make sure that individuals who don't have access to justice or income to get attorneys for all kinds of civil legal services like domestic violence, custody, foreclosures, expungements, all kinds of civil issues, that we can get legal services so they can enforce their right. Because folks may or may not know that if you're indigent and you have a criminal case, you will get a public defender. But if you're indigent and you have a civil case, which is all of those that I mentioned, you don't have a right to counsel. And so that's part of what I'm working for, so that throughout the state, everybody can enforce their rights regardless of what they are. I am the vice chair of the Judiciary's Domestic Law Committee, looking at all aspects of how the judiciary can serve families. And I co-chair a special status work group. And what we're looking at are children, immigrant children in the judicial system, as well as immigrant victims, and how to improve systems for them. I head up the model court for victims of children who are in foster care system and how we improve there's a lot more. I created our task bar, our Family Justice Center, which if people don't know about our Family Justice Center, I need to shout it out really loud. Our Family Justice Center serves victims of domestic violence, human trafficking, sexual assault, or elder abuse. It was created when I was Family Division Coordinating Judge because we had so many petitions for protective orders. And when I looked around as to the best model, came up with that. It took us 6 years, and it's beautiful, and it's effective, and it has wraparound services. And if anybody has a domestic violence issue, please, please, please check it out, because it really works. And there's a whole lot more. Reentry conferences, children in detention, I've done a lot of work around that. And when you talk about becoming a new judge, I do extensive teaching in the Judicial College on all kinds of issues, both those that come into the court on a day-to-day basis, but as well on a lot of innovative issues, like how do we apply international human rights law in state courts? And what about the trauma on children when you incarcerate their parents? What is the impact, and what should we do about it? So there's just a large panoply. There's a lot more, but I don't want to take up anybody's time on this.
So
Thank
do
you.
y'all see why Watanya and Sharon try to go first? Do y'all see
Exactly
that?
right.
Anywho, but with you bring some of the topics that you brought up, Kathy, that's look, some of the stuff I'm gonna jump around because I think that this question might be a little bit more extensive in getting your responses. Okay, there's a lot of talk about mass incarceration. As a country, we incarcerate a greater percentage of our population than any other country in the world, actually. And it's crazy because that's happening when they claim that the crime rates have been consistently going down for the past 20 years. We hear all the time about the drug wars. We hear about the mandatory minimums and the racial profiling. But very seldom do we hear about how this country developed a culture that uses imprisonment to deal with criminality. How the criminal justice system was shaped by a culture that sees African Americans as more prone to criminality and more subject to being controlled and imprisoned by the state. In each of your opinions, can you share with me how do we move towards consistently engaging in the taboo discussion necessarily needed to achieve real reform? Because if we can't talk about the fact that there's a culture of power that has set this system to be the way it is and have us having issues with a school to prison pipeline, with situations like George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and things of that nature. With you being in the seats, what do you see as a solution where if we can't talk about the real issues, it's never going to get fixed?
Well, I think what's good, and it's the first step, it's not a solution, is the recent formations of the Equal Justice Committee. I was just recently appointed to the Access and Fairness Subcommittee, which I think is a good step in starting the conversation and getting to the point of some solutions, because it is a systemic problem. And some of the committees that have been formulated are to identify judiciary programs and services to determine where the gaps are in programs so that we can address and enhance access to the courts for everybody. Additionally, I understand that I'm no longer a trial lawyer and I don't represent people anymore, but I do think it's important that when people come before the court, that judges recognize opportunities to refer people to pro bono resources and refer them to self-represented litigant centers and places where they can get access to justice, like the Family Justice Center that Judge Surratt so modestly told you about, but didn't tell you that she was instrumental in the formation of that facility. Additionally, recognizing when people are good candidates for programs that reduce recidivism and help them to get drug treatment, veterans court, teen court, mental health court, things of that nature, which help people to find solutions to the problems that put them in the system, not to keep putting them back in the system for them to repeat the same problems that they've had. And I'm going to stop because I know we're running short on time, but I'll give it to somebody else.
Yes, so I think, one of the things that they have, when you talk about talking and having communications, I think that when we were running or while we were running, one of the things we frequently heard was that people, they don't know who the judges are. They don't know who we are. They don't see us. They only see us, in time. And I think one thing that could be instrumental is just more access to the judges. I know that different organizations have coffee chats and, Starbucks or different coffee houses where they sit down and they talk. And so I think that maybe if there could be some more outreach or some more accessibility to the judges, just so that we can be around and we can hear what people have to say and hear what their concerns are on a day-to-day basis, their growing concerns. Obviously, we are very well aware of a lot of some of the major issues, but people have their own individual issues that may raise other things or other solutions that maybe we haven't thought about that we can incorporate. As Judge Curry or Watanya, I'm just used to it, said, we do have model courts that do address, hopefully, the root cause of a crime when it's appropriate. Is it a mental health root problem? Is it a homelessness problem? Is it a substance abuse problem? What is the issue? And we do have services. On Wednesdays, I actually run the contempt court for people who have not paid their child support. And so incarceration is not always, sometimes there are people there who it's an employment issue. And so we have an organization identified as Adams House, who we have in the courtroom, who, when I see that it's appropriate, rather than having to incarcerate somebody, I refer them to Adams House so that they can help them with employment, and they can help them with transportation, and they can have computers available so that they can get online and they can do their job search, or they can assist them with legal services to modify the child support if that's appropriate. So I think we have to be creative, we have to be available and accessible.
I guess
Kathy?
it's me. Yeah, thanks.
I know you got something to say.
I do. So when we look at mass incarceration and discriminatory sentencing, which are both prevalent in Maryland, and I don't think we can hide our heads in the sand. We have to look at it both in an individual way, is what are we doing in our courtroom? And then we have to look at it in a systemic way. What are we doing system-wise to make a difference and to change that? In the courtroom, I know for me, I'm always keenly aware of the need to compassionately and respectfully look at everybody who comes in front of me. I've had, if folks have had the opportunity to read an amazing book by an amazing person called The Master Plan by Chris Wilson. Chris committed murder at 17. He had a very rough background, and he was sentenced to life in prison by my predecessor. And so when we come onto the court, we take somebody's seat. There's like this flag. So Chris came in front of me, and when he came in front of me, I was just amazed by the progress he had made in his development. And long story short, Chris is free today. I changed his sentence. He is doing extraordinary things in the community. He has a successful business, and he is employing a lot of other individuals who are being released. And he's an artist, really an accomplished artist. It's quite amazing. He's written this book, which was part of his plan, which he told me about when he came to be resentenced. He said he was going to write a book about his struggles and what it takes, and he's written it. It's called The Master Plan, so it's pretty amazing. But I say that just to say that we can make an enormous difference in the courtroom itself. And then systemically, we need to figure out all the ways we can make a difference. So on the one hand, we have the Equal Justice Commission that we all talked about in terms of committee and the looking to eliminate discrimination in all aspects. And then we can do other things. I've done a lot of writing on this topic. I've done a lot of teaching on this topic. I've paired up with a wonderful woman, Ebony Underwood, with a group called We Got Us Now. And it's a group of children of parents who have been incarcerated or who are incarcerated. And we both spoke at the Sentencing Commission. I'm bringing her in to speak to judges at the Maryland Judicial College. So I think that we can impact it in a lot of ways, and still at the same time maintain our goal, of course, of both keeping our community safe and making sure that we are compassionate, that we look at individuals, that incarceration is the last, not the first option, depending on what the situation is. And like I said, I think there's all kinds of ways to contribute to the absolute importance of decarcerating and eliminating discriminatory incarceration.
Okay. You know, Tasha, I also want to throw out there too that I think our administrative judge has done a phenomenal job, as well as not as Kathy has said, hiding her head in the sand, or making sure that we don't hide our heads in the sand. There are 24 judges on our court, and there are judges in Montgomery County, and they have jointly spearheaded efforts, trainings, and exercises with respect to implicit bias, to make sure that if there's any implicit bias out there, that maybe we can see and recognize it within ourselves and address it. So we're working toward those goals as well.
And that is a first step, holding ourselves and our cohorts and people we work with accountable. It's very important.
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm hearing and what you ladies just shared is usually I kind of get when my guests have asked questions of some other candidates, not in any particular jurisdiction or whatever, is kind of that your hands are held because there's certain rules and sentencing that must happen no matter what. But what I'm hearing from you guys is like there is some discretion that you have as judges about how you deal with it, and you have actually implemented discretion in cases as well too.
Absolutely. But make no mistake, there are mandatory minimums with some things. In some ways, our hands may be tied, but we do all have a wide bit of discretion. And we have reached out. And as you heard from Kathy, I mean, there are a wide range and variety of community partners that we work with so that we can share that information. In the courthouse, we have clinics or places where we can send people to go for some basic legal assistance or guidance. We do all kinds of things. Our chief judge has implemented a program where, there's coats and gloves and hats, so that if we see anybody coming in the wintertime and we happen to notice they don't have on protective clothing, then we can send them down so that they can get protective clothing. She is committed to children in need of assistance who happen to be turning 21, to ensure that while they were in the court system and they had services, that they're not just thrown out there, so that they do possibly run into homelessness or education issues or substance abuse. So she's trying to set up something as well so that there are services available to them to help them transition out of the program that they're in and into adulthood. So there's many things that we have at our disposal that we can use and we use regularly.
And some things are statutory, Tasha, that is correct. But we can't change the law. We have to implement the law, but we do have to use our common sense, our everyday experiences, and compassion to implement the law in the way that it's best for people individually who come before us. And each person should be treated individually and not just, this is what I do in every single case like this, because every case is different.
Every case is different. And also taking into consideration the victim. As well, we have to not only consider the defendant, but we have to consider the victim, or was there any harm? As Kathy said, the community as a whole. And I see Kathy was going to say something, so I'm going to let her chime in.
Hopefully she's going to talk about the bridge to yes.
Look,
I'll let Tasha ask.
Some of my teammates in my business, my health and wellness business, are in the audience. And look, guys, I'm about to go to YouTube and get the Jeopardy music for Kathy. But go ahead, Kathy.
So just a couple things. I guess a couple things I want to say. Let me say first, in terms of your question specifically, the sentencing guidelines are guidelines. They are not required sentences. You can go above the guidelines. You can go below the guidelines, depending on what's going on. So there are a very narrow few amount of mandatory sentences, but mostly it is discretionary, quite frankly. And there's a whole bunch of factors we look at before we impose a sentence. And so we do have discretion for the most part. In terms of, I was just going to say, I co-chair the committee for this Bridge from Yes program, where we're building a housing complex with wraparound services for youth aging out of foster care. So it is a collaborative effort with members of the community. And so if there's folks who hear about that and realize how wonderful it is and they want to contribute, they can contact my chambers, because we are working with a wide variety of folks to make sure that we can incorporate all kinds of services for our aging out foster youth, just like we're doing with our Family Justice Center.
Okay. Dr. Carla says, I like Kathy.
We all love Kathy.
Thank you.
You're impressing people. Can you guys tell me, what is it that you don't like about the job? Everybody has something that they don't like about their job. What is it that, oh, hold on, here's a question. I want to get my people question. Can you all speak on the other candidates running for judge? What are your thoughts? How do they fit into the already established sitting judges?
Well, I'm not really able to speak on the other candidates because I really don't know them. So I don't have any personal information about them.
Okay. Anybody else?
I would concur with that, Tasha, because we haven't gotten the background that we've submitted for them. So I really don't know a lot about their experience, background, credentials, anything like that.
Okay, so I think that it's fair, and I think it's also in good taste, also to eliminate that Ella. But you know what? Maybe I can't ask the question because a lot came up before. I was getting ready to go to another question, but Ella has made me. She said that's fair, guys. That's fair. She's made me think about another question here. When it comes to the duties that you have in the circuit court and the type of cases that you have, how important is it that the law experience of a candidate is particularly related to what's handled within the circuit court? Because maybe you could touch on real quick what type of cases people didn't hear, the type of cases that you hear, and whether or not a person should really have courtroom experience with those cases. Maybe they may be a lawyer with a different concentration of experience. How important is that to be considered in deciding who to choose for a candidate? Is that a fair question?
I think that is a fair question. I'll let you go. Go ahead.
No. So, what I was going to say is the knowledge that you bring with you. I practice in many different areas of the law. And for each one of those areas, it took me years to understand not just the center of that issue, but all that comes along with that particular section of the law. And so when you're on the bench and you come already with that, and you come with courtroom experience and procedure and how to get in evidence and knowledge of the rules and knowledge of the statutes, then you're able to come to a clearer and more fair decision because you already have within you things that need to be referred upon or considered in making that decision. Like I said, it's not just the defendant, but it's the defendant, it's the victim, it's the root cause. It's all of those things that you need to consider, in addition to how you consider it and what you consider and what the factors are. There's a lot that goes into that. And so if you bring all that with you, then certainly you're farther ahead of the game in being a fair and impartial judge.
And I'll just touch a little bit about that. Just like I said previously, just being in the courtroom and knowing what it feels like to be on the other side of when you're not treated equitably, I think that's something that you bring with you to the bench, and you try not to give people that feeling when they're appearing in front of you, because you know what it feels like not to feel like you have achieved justice when you're in a courtroom. And that's not something I want anyone ever to leave my courtroom feeling. But I agree with Judge Kelsey, or Sharon, that having an application, knowing how to apply the law to a facts of whatever case that's in front of you, because you've had that experience, will help you to decipher and work your way through any issue that comes before you. And the drive and the love of the law, so that if you don't know the answer, and we're not going to know every answer, you go and you find out the answer and you be sure that you get it right, or as right as you can get it. Because we don't know everything, but you have to know enough to know that you don't know everything and how to go find the answer.
Yes.
So can I just piggyback on what they're saying? Because I think it's really, really, really important, because unfortunately, all of these TV shows out there make people who aren't familiar with the legal system think, well, we just sit there, we listen to these stories, and then we just do what we think.
Don't be talking about Judge Judy.
It's so much more complex than that. And just an example. So, for example, I was the head of the family division for 8 years. I coordinate the Family Law University for that's mandatory for all judges throughout the state, to make sure that they know about custody, child support, domestic violence, all the issues that pertain to that. I've taught it. I'm steeped in it. So yesterday, I was teaching a full-day course for the Maryland Association of Justice on the issue of custody cases when a child or a parent has a significant mental health issue. I've presented on that in the past, actually nationally as well as locally. So you would think I would just go on. No, I spent days researching what are all the most recent cases. What are all the most recent rules? The rules change on a regular basis. I read all the treatises on it so that even something that you think might be common sense or even that you've known it before, you really need to dig deeply into the law to make sure that when you're sitting on the bench, you're doing the right thing that's consistent with the law, because you don't want to just do something, you don't want to put parties through a process where they're coming back for reconsiderations and they're having to go to the Court of Appeals and having to appeal it. You really want to get it right so that the family gets some stability and so that the parties can know that they're getting justice and fairness and a correct ruling that can help them move forward, and that doesn't keep them locked up in the judicial system because somebody just had a feeling. That's all.
All right. I was yelling at Rocky. He's downstairs barking, guys. This is what happened when you do it at home, and he knows he got to go to the vet, but that's okay. Thank you. And look, on here we had another definitely you're welcome for the follow-up that I sent out to you, Ella. Definitely is truly important. Michelle, you just coming on. You have got to catch the replay. These ladies have been sharing some great information. We have a question from Renee Hunter. And don't think I forgot about my question that y'all was looking at me crazy about. Y'all gonna tell me what y'all don't like about the job. But we'll go back to Renee. Renee wants to know, how can citizens get information about judges, rulings, etc., to help us know our judges and candidates? After working on social injustice reform efforts and reading Just Mercy, I do not feel like I know which judges are fair and impartial.
Well, we're in COVID right now, but before COVID and after this pandemic ends, we invite people to come and sit in our courtrooms to see what happens, how we're ruling, what our demeanor is like, how we interact with the public and with the attorneys, because I think it's important for accountability purposes for the judges to understand that, we serve the public when we have a higher duty to the Constitution and the laws of Maryland, but we also owe integrity to the process. So I feel very strongly that people should be able to come in and see what we do on a day-to-day basis. I believe also that if hopefully we don't get appealed, but cases that are, you can review cases that are recent or that go up for reconsideration in the Court of Special Appeals or Court of Appeals that deal with cases that have happened in the circuit court system.
I just got to say, Rocky sounded like a bigger dog.
He did. He's very indignant. He's ready to go.
And let me go off track here. Perpetual Lyrics, that is my baby girl. She's in college at Oklahoma Christian University, a junior. Girl, come get your dog. He's disturbing my show.
He's beautiful.
Okay, all right. So now we go back to the whole, what is it that you dislike about the job?
Okay, so I came up with something. So I take no pleasure in having to hand down, a tough sentence. That's something that I know that I have to do. I have to follow the law. I have to be fair in rendering my decisions. But I can't say that, I take pleasure in it.
Okay.
There's always two sides to every story. Somebody is not going to be satisfied and someone is going to be disappointed. But I think the goal is that, if people leave feeling like they've been heard and that there's been equity, I don't think that there's more to the job than I can do than that.
There's a couple things. So I would agree with both. I would agree, of course, with my colleagues. There's nothing worse than sentencing, quite frankly. It's awful. There are times when it's just, depending on the crime, depending that you have a obligation to do that. There are issues that we have a lot of discretion as judges, but there are issues we don't have discretion on. So that if the legislature says A, B, and C, and it's clear, and we don't have the discretion to do anything besides make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's on certain issues, there's a lot of legislative fixes that we as judges can't do. There's a lot of legislative fixes that the community needs to do on all kinds of issues. So, for example, let me just give you a real quick example. I told you about Chris Wilson, the extraordinary guy who's now free, right? Chris had filed a motion to modify his sentence, which you're allowed to do within 90 days of your sentence. If you file it within 100 days of your sentence, you can't get a modification. That's legislative. Or they changed the law a number of years back that said that any modification has to occur within 5 years. So Chris, luckily for him, he had filed it. His thing was held in abeyance. Nobody ever had ruled on it. But when he had filed it, it was before that legislation happened. So I was able to change that sentence. But if it had not been for that, if it was now, and if it was 6 years after he was incarcerated, we'd have no authority to do anything about it. That's legislative. And that can drive you crazy. Because there are times when you know you want to do something, but you can't. Because there's just legislation out there that doesn't allow us to do it. So I've learned to be as creative as I can in a number of situations, but I'm still bound by the law. I can't change the law. That's not within my authority. And I guess the one other thing that sort of drives me crazy sometimes is before I got on the bench, I was an activist. And now we're required not to be, I mean, I can't even take a stand if you ask me what my stand is on things. I'm not allowed to do it. I'm not allowed to go public with stands. I'm not allowed to take a stand. I need to be fair and impartial on every single issue that comes before me. So there have been like demonstrations, right? Where like I'll say to folks, can I go? And they're like, no, you can't go.
We've had that conversation many times.
Yes, yes.
Frustrating. I mean,
Yeah.
stuff, I can't even say it all because I'm not allowed to say it all. But that's the frustrating part of the job, is that in order to maintain our fairness and impartiality, we need to walk a really, really thin line. So we can't go out on the campaign trail and say to you, yes, that's how we feel, because we're not allowed to. So that can be really frustrating, not just on the campaign stuff, but even off the campaign trail.
Yeah, and that's true for me too, because I'm a real social media person. So I've been on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I like to live tweet. And, and this year, 2020, I mean, for me to get on the bench just before 2020, when there would be so much to talk about and so much to express. And I cannot. And I mean, it kills me. And, just to piggyback on that too, a lot of my friends on Facebook, they've been inviting me lately to different groups, to stop this or to avoid that or to argue against this. And I can't. I cannot be a part of those groups. I can't say things. We can't go down and we can't demonstrate on certain issues. We just kind of have to stay in our house and
with our t-shirts on where no one can see us.
Yeah, so that's been tough. That's been tough.
Okay, so look, interesting. Okay, I see now some of y'all who are coming on late today. Your girl Tasha can't just hang around. I'm gonna try to get this another 15 minutes. I think I could get to the vet in 45 minutes. But my baby girl wanted y'all to know that she is currently taking a media law class. So maybe later on we could get where one of you guys or all of you can talk to her and give her some tips and stuff about that. Ella's laughing at your comment about Rocky and his big bark, and Michelle is pointing out we have these wonderful all natural snacks called Ganobites, and that's how Rocky gets strong. And Rocky is 13 years old, crazy self. But here Michelle Ford pointed out that Judge Devine from Charles County, who's running for the circuit court, said the same thing in regards to legislation. There are things that they can't do. They have to enforce the legislation. Yeah, Michelle, I think you came on afterwards, though. Kathy also talked about how they could go, they do have some limited discretion in whether they're going to go above, with, or a little bit below what's being recommended too, which I found pretty interesting. We have a question coming from Ella McLadden saying, after sentencing, do you all ever go home thinking you could have done or said something differently in your decisions? I guess is what she's asking about.
So I think that I don't think anybody would ever say that there was never a time that they didn't, second guess themselves, or as Kathy said, just wish that there were something else that we could have done. It weighs heavy on us. Like I said, sentencing is a very, very serious matter, and it's something that we don't take lightly. So yeah, there are times when it weighs on my mind.
And Michelle, go ahead, Kathy.
Yeah, I was going to say, every sentencing that comes before me, I really think a lot about it beforehand. I really do. I think a lot about how and if there's anything creative I can do, if there's anything, what makes the most sense in terms of the community, in terms of the individual before me, in terms of the whole thing. So yes, I don't think something as serious as that, I don't think anybody goes home afterwards without thinking about it and thinking if you were right and thinking like, and fortunately, we do have, you have the 90 days to file for reconsideration, and they can come back in front of you. And I even have cases where, like, I keep pulling them back for statuses and stuff like that to see if there's anything I can do. But yeah, there's, and so much of what we do, and that's why it's so important that you have good judges. So much of what we do, whether it's sentencing, whether it's custody, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's children in foster care, the rulings are so important, and they so deeply impact the lives of those who are in front of you that I know I do, and I know that both Sharon and Tanja do. Take all that stuff home with us, and we think a lot about it beforehand. We prepare beforehand, but these are, we just have such an impact on people's lives.
Absolutely.
Which is what the part of the job I love, because I think I do. I know I care so deeply about everyone in front of me.
Yeah.
But it's also why you need really good judges.
And, people come before us usually sometimes on their very worst day of their life, with having come back, from the worst situation, a divorce, a situation with a loved one, a violent incident that they've been involved in. And we just have to take each of those cases individually. And of course, those issues and those problems and the people that come before us and how they feel and what they've expressed to us, that it's going to stay with us. And I think if it doesn't, I think that would be a problem.
Yeah.
Dr. Carla, I am not messing with Kathy. Alice said, absolutely, Kathy. Michelle Ford says she had no idea or never thought about the fact of how you cannot support activism and causes. That was really eye-opening to her. And yes, you guys do. You have somebody's lives at your hands. So this is just very, very serious, very serious. Look, I'm gonna have to see which one of y'all. I'm thinking that one of y'all might have handled my divorce. Oh, I'm gonna have to go look at my paperwork and see that, because I don't know why I'm thinking it. But anyway, it was funny. Anywho, my divorce was funny. Okay, so look, because I want to give each one of you about 5 minutes, another 15 minutes, because There was so much. There may be other questions. Stop laughing, y'all. They out there. They got laughing faces and everything. Oh, let me mention before we go here. I just want to go here and mention. I put the banners up, but we do want to point out that early voting starts on Monday, October 26th, and goes through Monday, November the 2nd. Each early voting center will be open continuously from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. If you are in line by 8 p.m., you still will be able to vote. Also, on election day, you can vote at any election day voting center in the county in which you live. And again, on election day, voting centers are open continuously also from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And if you are in line at 8 p.m., you will be allowed to vote. I'm talking to you guys as serving as a chief judge. Woo, child, this was a chief judge in Prince George's County. Please come out and be understanding. And we're going to try to move you guys through as much as possible. But get out there early. Don't wait till the last day when you know you could have came on the first day. Don't become on the last day tripping at your girl Tasha precinct. Because I'm be like, hold up now. How many days did you have to vote? But anyway, guys, get out and vote. It's very, very, very important. Get out and vote. And if you were people that chose to do your mail-in ballots and all that other kind of stuff, make sure that you have everything in place. I just wanted to say that.
And Tasha, can I piggyback on that for just a second, just in case I don't get another chance?
Sure.
I just wanted to let everybody know too that we are campaigning and we need your help. So you have at the bottom of your screen running across our webpage. You also have going across at the bottom our Twitter page, and most importantly, our link tree as well. So please get in contact with us. We are still in need of donations. We are still in need of poll workers. I know someone asked, how could they help? They can help financially. No contribution is too small. We definitely need people to work on poll days. And if you would like to have a bumper sticker for your car and it's removable, you can email us at pgcjudges2020@gmail.com. Thank you. That's my plug. Thank you.
All right, campaign manager. I knew one of you guys was a campaign manager. Oh, Lord, let me read Michelle's thing, too. Hold on. Michelle says, I'm so glad that you said that, Judge Kathy, that you actually care, because when you make a decision, you go to your next case. But the people affected have to face the decision, and it becomes their life, good or bad. I really appreciate that you actually care and take time with your cases. Hey, Michelle Ford. Michelle Ford, I think I can say this. Guess what? Kathy's husband used to be the president of our local. Anywho, I digress. It's your girl Tasha talking there. Anywho, yes, Michelle, CWA. So look, I'm gonna let you guys each individually share why you believe that someone should cast their ballot for you guys. At first, I was gonna play around. I was gonna have it where I would have one judge speak for the other judge and the other judge speak for the other judge, but we don't have time for all that. But what I do know too is that I want to get you guys to come back on at some point in time to discuss some other things and issues, because I think that the knowledge, and let's get out of campaign season. It doesn't mean that we just give information when it's campaign season. We should give information otherwise. And it's just more that we could talk about, and we're rushing through it. But I definitely want you ladies to return. Okay. So I'm going to put it on who I want to go. This is going to be fun. Somebody don't get to go last.
Oh.
Okay, thank you. So I don't, your questions were all so good that yes, CWA. Your questions were wonderful. So I don't have a whole lot to add. I'll just kind of say some of the things that I think are important. I have a lifelong commitment to children, family, folks in general. I went to law school so that I could promote human rights and civil rights. I care deeply about folks, and I have been fortunate to be able to have done that throughout my career. As I said, I'm running for my second term on the circuit court. I sit on the Equal Justice Committee, looking to disband all forms of discrimination in the judiciary. I sit on the subcommittee on sentencing because I am and have always been deeply committed to decarceration and to deal with the issues of mass incarceration. I am on the standing committee for Court of Appeals for local for pro bono services, as well as the Access to Justice Commission, to make sure that we're looking statewide at all kinds of justice issues for the residents of Maryland. I am a co-chair of the vice chair of the Domestic Law Committee, looking at how do we serve families better in the court system. And I have especially deep commitment to the immigrants in our court system as well. And so I have done a lot of work about special immigrant juvenile status and looking at children, immigrant children in our system, as well as immigrant victims in our system. I spearheaded our Family Justice Center that I spoke about earlier. I am now co-chairing the committee to do a wraparound housing complex for our youth who are aging out of foster care. I co-founded the annual reentry program at MCIW so that our returning citizens have the kind of knowledge and resources that they need to be successful when they come in. And when I was president of the Women's Bar Association in Prince George's County, I initiated a program that's still going on for children who are in detention. I teach the judges. I'm a frequent faculty member for all kinds of issues at the Maryland Judicial College. I teach actually judges internationally and across the country. I am what they call a Advanced Science and Technology Adjudication Resource Fellow, which means I've done extra training on those more complex issues that come into the court, as well as I have an advanced law degree in international human rights law. And the bottom line is, I just care very deeply about folks in Prince George's County, folks who come before us in the court, how we move the system forward and serve the community as a whole in a just and equitable way, how we implement innovations, which I've tried to do. When I find a problem, I go, what can we do about it? And luckily, I've been successful in creating different systems and systemic responses to some of the problems in the judicial system. And I just deeply respect and care for everyone, not just who comes to court, but just across the board. So that's enough. Time for everybody else.
Thank you, Tasha. I just want to thank you again for this opportunity, because we don't have a lot of opportunities to go out in the public and to let them know about us. That's one of the things while we were out campaigning that we learned from people. People say they don't want to come to Upper Marlboro, they don't want to have to see me, and so they're glad that I'm out in the community. But I always say the same thing. I want people to come to Upper Marlboro to serve as jurors in these cases that we have before the court, because we need people to come and serve who have common sense, who are committed to the process, and can apply their everyday knowledge and their everyday experiences to these cases that we have before the court to ensure that people and our citizens that are in the system have a fair outcome. I told you all a little bit about my background, but I believe that my training and my trial experience have made me uniquely qualified for this position, and I strive every day to learn as much as I can and to be prepared to show up with integrity and to have respect for the process and for those people who are appearing in front of me. As a wife and as a mother and raising 3 children in the community, I understand the importance and the goals that we all have for Tasha. You're what? I understand the goals that we have for our children and for our community at large, and I share those goals and those wishes for our children. So I understand the importance that when someone who comes before me who shows that they have potential, to give them an opportunity to demonstrate that potential. Diversionary programs and things like that should be utilized as an alternative for people who come to court. Additionally, each case should be treated individually with compassion and respect. I understand that people who come before the court with family matters, cases involving children, these are the most important issues that these people in the community have, and they deserve my attention. They deserve my integrity and they deserve my competence. So I attempt to approach each case with an eye towards that. And I hope in, many, many years, when I'm 70 years old and I retire with the reputation of a jurist who served with integrity and respect for the judiciary and with the system and respect for the community. So thank you again for this opportunity to be on your show, and I'm asking both you and all of your viewers for their votes so that I can retain my seat as a circuit court judge in Prince George's County. Thank you, Tasha.
Girl, I was trying to hit mute on my side, and I hit the wrong thing and put myself up on the face. I was like, "Oh no, I'm messing her thing up," because I wanted to hear you.
I thought you were saying that.
No, I hit it accidentally. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no problem.
All right now, because Judge Sharon was over there shuffling papers, so I had to mute her myself. So now I'm going to go ahead and bring her up.
I'm sorry about that. So Tasha, yes, thank you so much for having us on. We have truly enjoyed it. I know I have. And to answer your question, in addition to my knowledge and experience with respect to different areas of law, which I'll just kind of run through, I started working out with personal injury and workers' compensation. I then morphed into adoptions and divorce and bankruptcy. I've represented condominium associations with respect to debt collection. I've also, as I said before, represented veterans with respect to foreclosure. I've represented our vulnerable adults who suffer from Alzheimer's or dementia with respect to protecting their assets as their personal guardian. I've represented those who have mental health challenges such as Tourette's syndrome and mental retardation with respect to being their medical guardians to make sure that they receive the best medical care that they could receive. I have been appointed by the court in a variety of different types of legal matters as well. And so with that, I just come in contact with so many people. And that's perfect for me because I am a people person. I've never been one to just sit behind my desk. I've always been out and about and around people. I've taught the paralegal division studies, legal studies division for paralegals at University of Maryland Global Campus. I have worked with Delegate Barron in District 24 on the political arena. I was his treasurer for several years. So I was out about and hearing again what people's concerns are from various constituents. I've served on a variety of bar associations, the Women's Bar. I was secretary, I was vice president, I was recording secretary for a number of years in the past. I actually was president of the J. Franklin Bourne Bar Association, which is the largest minority bar association in Prince George's and Montgomery County. And those bar associations are very committed to doing community outreach. The Women's Bar Association, we have gone into the Children's Detention Center at Christmas time and on different occasions so that we can have outreach with those young ladies. I've engaged in Christmas and April programs from Rashawn Baker's administration, and that flowed into County Executive Angela Also Brooks's administration, where we go in and we beautify and we clean up and make minor repairs on people's homes. I have engaged in a variety of outreach events at various churches, which I mentioned earlier, that had to do with expungement clinics and one-on-one. I've sat on panels and I have assisted people with, they put me in a room and every 20 minutes someone comes in and whatever their legal issue is what's before me. And oddly enough, for the community, 20 minutes was really actually enough to resolve quite a few of those people's issues that they had. And so when they left me, they actually had resolutions. Some didn't, and they needed more legal work, but at least they were guided and they were on their way. In addition to that, because I've had such connection with the community and people out there, I also understand, we've talked a lot about how people want to be heard and they want to feel like that they've been treated fairly. But, after their case and after they feel that they've been heard and treated fairly, another concern for these litigants as well is that their cases move along. And that means that orders are signed in a timely manner or opinions are put out in a timely manner, because after these people have their case, they're waiting. Sometimes if you don't rule directly from the bench, they're waiting and their lives are on hold and they don't know what to do as far as their home is concerned, or their children are concerned, or their marriage is concerned. Or if there's a defendant in the home, what's going to happen if that person is incarcerated? How is that going to affect them? So I plan on continuing to be a part of the community so that I can continue to hear and react on all of those issues in a way that I think is best going to serve the citizens of Prince George's County. And for those reasons, I do believe that I am an excellent choice to remain and keep my seat. And I'm asking for everyone's vote this November 3rd. Thank you very much. Now you're muted.
All right, ladies. And with that being said, everybody, definitely what we need to know is, okay, early voting centers. Let me move this banner out the way here real quick. I think that's good for everybody to know where they could go and vote early, don't y'all think? Let's see. I'm gonna move this out the way because I know that's gonna block it. Turn this off. And this is in the studio, they worked all this stuff. I didn't have to worry about this. There's 11 early voting centers in Prince George's County, guys. So find one of them near you. We have Accokeek VF Volunteer Fire Department Training and Activity Center, the Bowie Gymnasium, Duval High School, Kentland Community Center, Laurel High School, Showplace Arena, Southern Regional Technology and Recreational Complex down on Bach Road, the Southern Area Aquatic Recreation Complex, brand new center, never even got to use because of pandemic, but we're going to use it for voting out on Missouri Avenue in Brandywine, guys. Beautiful center. Suitland Community Park School Center, the Pavilion at University of Maryland, guys. That's a new center too, and the Wayne Carey Sports Complex. So we want to make sure there's a lot of locations that you can go to and you can vote at. I want to let all the viewers know that I am not going to be here the next 2 Saturdays because, again, I am serving as an election judge, and I have some things I have to take care of, too, in preparation for that. In addition, we want to always remind you that if you want to be a guest on the show, call me up, 240-545-5695. Make sure that you tune in and like Your Girl Tasha on Facebook as well as YouTube. And be my featured guest. I love to have you here in the studio with me. And to you ladies, I just want to say best of luck to you in seeking your re-elections and going back on the seat. And it has been marvelous. And I'm so serious. We're definitely going to have you come back on. And I do think that even some of the other candidates too that were on, I think that together you guys have a wealth of information, whether it's in a position as a judge, if elected or not elected, you have a wealth of information that can help the community. And it's so exciting to see some wonderful, strong women doing their thing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Everyone be safe.
Yes, be safe, guys. And with that being said, Rocky is at the bottom of my foot, and we are going to go ahead and check out. Ladies, usually I do an after show talk, but I will be talking to y'all soon, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, ain't nobody hotter. Thank you for tuning in with your girl Tasha. We handle business. We ain't about to gossip. Here to uplift you. Now it's time to boss up. Hey, hey, tune in. Nah, you can't miss. Making sure that you get your daily wake up list. We yelling bam. Good vibes, good energy. Bam. Being authentically me. Shout out Little Mo and Trinity. That's mini me. Gotta keep it in the family. Hey, your girl Tasha. YGT. Time to get it hype. Hey, this is what you need. Hey, go ahead, turn it up. This my jam. Being authentically me like bam. With your girl Tasha. Hey, let's dance. Being authentically me like bam. Yeah, now it's time to get it. Wake up, time to handle business. Yeah, hey, now it's time to get it. Wake up, time to handle business. Yeah, we about to get it live with your girl Tasha. Hey, like bam. Let's go.